Today, Will Giesey of Bellweather Design joins us as we talk shop about renovations and remodels of some great Philly row homes. Will, thanks for being here.
Great to be here.
Now, your firm has garnered awards for your work for over 25 years on historic and row homes in Philly. As a Philly native, I love to hear it. There's so much that I don't know about row homes, even though I grew up in one. Why did you choose to focus on renovating historic Philly homes and row homes? And why would you recommend them to homeowners?
I was really attracted to the sort of beautiful fabric of these old homes, the architecture. So that's why I moved to Philadelphia. And I think that still holds true for a lot of people considering buying a home. The benefit, of course, in most situations is that there's the neighborhoods that have the density that make it so much different than being in suburbia, right?
Right. Well, I love the work that your company does. And I looked at a couple of the row homes that I myself was like, let me just move right in there. One of them was this amazing renovation that you did right there, Graduate Hospital. I mean, can you walk me through that renovation, Will?
This was a really fun project because we did such a large modification to the floor plan and we added a lot of square footage onto this. But in this case, we did tear off the back of the house, which was about 10 feet deep, and added on 25-foot addition, 3 stories up. And so that's how we got the extra square footage on this. It certainly adds to the value, and the bank was able to loan against that as well.
Row homes have spots where there is just basically a lack of light traditionally. How do you account for that with this renovation?
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's done most conventionally through lots of windows. A lot of things get impacted by the locations of these windows. If you really were concerned only with RValue and efficiency and keeping all the heating and cooling, all the conditioning inside the space, then you would prefer to not have no windows. Of course, nobody really wants that.
It's really taking it to a whole different type of design build.
That's right, lots of options.
Well, I told you I'm going to be asking a lot of questions. RValue, what is that?
The RValue really has to do with resistance to heat flow. It's achieved through fiberglass. Insulation is a very common material. And if you want to get a much higher RValue per inch, you would go to spray foam, usually closed cell spray foam. That gives you an RValue of around 6 to 7 instead of 3 to 4 for fiberglass.
I'm a really big fan of these pilot houses on the deck. I see them a lot in Philly.
It's a fun thing to play around with because you have a lot of options in terms of how the shape looks and how you access it from the inside, meaning within this pilot house, you recognize that there's a stairwell that comes down into the house. And so that really affects the floor plan on the 3rd floor or the top floor of the house. And it also impacts heavily how you access the deck area.
And this stunning Galley Kitchen in Fairmount. I mean, this is the type of kitchen where I would basically just live in this kitchen. A working triangle. What is that, Will?
The concept is that you'd have a triangle created by the 3 major appliances, which would be the stove, the refrigerator, and the sink. You would not want any triangle which totals on all 3 legs any less than 12 feet and any more than 26 feet. If you had them any closer together, all these appliances would be on top of each other and you wouldn't have any work counter space to get things done. You'd take things off of the stove, they would fall into the sink maybe.
Well, I was on the site and I saw this renovation, which blew my mind. I know I said before that I wanted to live in the kitchen in Fairmount, but I also want to live in the multi-space rooftop in this project. I remember from being a kid that Philly row homes have kind of like these flat roofs and sometimes the drainage could be tricky. How did you account for any drainage issues with this project?
Yep, that's very important. There's no such thing as a flat roof. The water has to drain into some corner of the roof typically. So if you obstruct that flow of water, then you've got a problem. The best option is to have a brand new roof. We generally will install a brand new roof underneath before we start finishing the deck.
Society Hill, I love that neighborhood. And this particular makeover that I love so much, how did you take a home from the 70s and renovate it for the future around the electricity?
Anytime you're doing more than a 50% renovation of a space, the city will require you to bring the electrical all the way up to code because, of course, they don't want this liability. In this case, the electrical was relatively easy to do because we were already opening up a lot of areas of the home. Generally speaking, that's how people approach wiring as they're renovating their house area by area.
I'm so in love with the overall fact that this is an amazing and really super cool renovation. I see in this renovation that there was a waterproof, slip-proof flooring option. When should a homeowner consider that, and what makes it different?
Sure. So what we would call an LVT, luxury vinyl tile, is a great option for something where moisture is a concern. That way, if there was ever some sort of leak in the basement, it would be resistant to damage there. And that's a really nice way to have a lot of options for colors and finishes.
All of these renovations are taking place in really unique historical homes. And our ultimate row house to row home guide, we talk about the 12 different styles of row homes. Which ones do you see the most frequently, and how do you identify them?
So there's a lot of row homes that are Victorian style, and there's a lot that are federal style. We end up with sort of a mishmash over the years, meaning they buy a house that might have been renovated 5 or 6 times.
I see all of these things where it's very DIY and expensive, but then I'm like, in real life, how do you help a client adjust to what may be an initial idea about the cost of a project from watching late night YouTube or other TV channels to what the actual project will cost in order to do it the right way?
In our situation, we're design build, so we incrementally provide pricing with every early option. So the early concept all the way through to final selections of colors and every single detail in between. It's always a sequence of giving options with the correlating prices.
All right, well, in a nutshell, what are the top 3 pieces of advice you can give someone who is doing a renovation on a row home?
Planning comes in 3 parts, making sure that you have visuals of what it is that you're trying to create. Most people can't just look at a set of floor plans and say, oh, I know what that's going to look like. And then we've got selections, what types of finishes you're considering. That might be, what appliances, what types of countertop. And then the third part is what are the conditions of the home, meaning what we would call the MEPs, mechanical, electrical, and plumbing. Those situations, including the structure of the house, are what you have to work with, and you don't want to disregard those and create a castle in the sky that's not really based in reality.
People are concerned about how they can afford a down payment in renovating. What are some considerations that they might be thinking about if they're thinking about how to do that?
If there's any structural issues or major solutions, you really do want to start with those first and then work into the mechanical, electrical, and plumbing because you don't want to spend all your money on finishes only to realize that 3 years later you've got a lot of liabilities with the house aging.
That's so smart. So there is an order of operations. Start with the structure, then go in. So cool to know that. I have to say that that's one of the things that really makes RenoFi uniquely poised because we work with our homeowners in a kind of concierge capacity and make sure that they're matched with loans that allow them to be able to do the biggest renovation possible for the rate that's going to work for them best. What has been your experience when you're recommending RenoFi to the clients?
We've had great feedback from clients who said that they enjoyed working with RenoFi and that the process was very efficient and that they got what they wanted out of the entire experience.
Will, I want to thank you so much for everything that you've shared with me. It's been an ultimate pleasure.
Thank you.
Go to renofi.com. There, we'll be sharing some more from our ultimate row house to row home guide and giving you more information about the one mission we have, making renovations possible.